Thanks for tuning in to more NASCAR coverage on Prime Sports and NASCAR. We have our Monday show returning as we're going to recap what goes on in the NASCAR Cup Series. We're also going to talk more about the IndyCar Series real soon. And that means Eric Smith will have double duty. So,
Yep.
yeah, Eric, instead of just talking NASCAR, we're going to have you start talking more IndyCar racing here on this site since that's what you cover on your website.
Oh yeah. Yep. Double duties started a few weeks ago. Glad last weekend was just single duty, just Cup, IndyCar the weekend off. But yep, really ramping things up now as we get busier in May and through the summer months. And it's hard to believe IndyCar, because their shortened season's almost halfway. NASCAR's halfway in the regular season this weekend, and they're already a third of their way through the season with Sunday. So really ramping things up now.
All right. Well, we're going to talk on this show about the NASCAR Cup Series standings. We'll recap Darlington, but there's not a whole lot to talk about with Darlington. Let's just be honest. And we're not surprised, right? I mean, Darlington has the look. I know what the hope was, but how often have our hopes been dashed as far as what we were? Well, maybe this is what's going to happen at the track on Sunday because of this reason and that reason and so forth, and it just didn't work out. It was a disaster.
It was a throwback weekend in the sense of racing too. One guy just put a butt whooping on the field, and I did like seeing the cars sliding around. I like to see that a little bit more than what we had in the higher downforce package with those guys just riding around, nobody doing anything. But Truex just put a whooping on the field. I mean, I thought we were going to get something with Larson there in the end, maybe a reverse of what happened in Atlanta, and
Yeah,
he just couldn't get up to him. So
he was
Truex,
right there.
but he caught him. I think he burned his tires up a little too much trying to catch him. But I went through and looked at the performances of the season just with somebody dominating the show, and it's happened surprisingly more than we thought this year. I think the infrequency of winners, I think just the randomness has helped spark storylines. But this was actually the first time somebody dominated the race and won it since Larson back in Vegas. Like, Larson led 132 laps in Kansas the week prior. Hamlin dominated. He led 23% of Talladega. He didn't win. He led 52% of Richmond. He led 55% of Martinsville. Truex led 50% of Bristol on dirt. So it's Larson led 83% of Atlanta. We've had these butt whoopings per se putting on the field. It's just the guy hasn't won in the end. Sunday we saw the guy that put the whooping on the field and ended up winning, and I think that's what you get sometimes. But it leads me to think it doesn't matter the racing package; somebody's dominating no matter what each week, and how do we get that gap up front shorter?
Well, that's probably going to be the answer next year. So
hopefully that new car, yeah, that's what I'll be working on a little bit this week is about this domination. And in Dover, we got coming this weekend, and that's led to more domination in the past too. So is this what we're going to see all year? Somebody just dominate the show? And if so, it's all about closing in the end. And because right now I think Truex has the number on everybody as we're a third of the way through the season. I think if you're looking for a championship favorite, I think right now that's your guy. He's finally starting to separate himself from the field.
well, yeah, he's the only one with multiple wins, and he's got 3.
Yep. And they're all on this package, the 750 package, which if you look at Martinsville and you look at Phoenix, the last 2 races of the year, it's the same package. So he's 3 for 3 in this package right now, and that's making a statement to the field.
All right. Well, taking a look then, Denny Hamlin. If you're just looking at the points, he's in first. And
Yes.
and this is also quite interesting because we have talked about this repeatedly. I don't really think that this. This is a perfect example of what NASCAR has to do to change the point system. Because Truex has 3 wins, Hamlin has 0, and it's not like Truex only has 3 good races. All right, he's got 8 top 10s, yep. Only 1 less than Denny Hamlin. And he is, points-wise, 75 back of Denny Hamlin. That has to stop. That has to change.
That's why the playoff system is where it's intact right now. That's for that exact reason. Because Matt Kenseth did that in 03. I think he won 1 race the whole year, but he just way ahead of everybody, just top 5 to everybody to death, and won the championship. This way, I mean, you look at Hamlin's got a bunch of top 5s. He's got no wins. He's got 5 stage wins. Like, if you look at right now, Truex has 15 playoff points just based off race wins. Then you add the 3 stage wins. He's got 18 playoff points. Here, let me turn my volume of my phone down. Sorry. He's got 18 playoff points. Hamlin's got 5, but Hamlin's 75 points ahead of him, and he hasn't won a race yet. So that's why the playoffs are intact the way they are. I mean, you look at last year, Kevin Harvick won 9 races and didn't win the championship. So that's why the playoffs there is for reasons like this, because right now, especially with this new era where you get smaller points. Like in the past, it used to be 175 points for the win, 170 for second. Now it's 43 for the win. Yeah, the old format, how far up would he be right now on that one? So you get 1 point per position as you move.
Who invented that?
It was on a napkin in 1949. That's how NASCAR was founded. They put the point standings on a napkin, and that's why they updated it. A few years ago. It was like, that's an antiqued way we determine points.
So what's the point difference now?
43. So a winner gets 43 points. Second place gets 42 points. Third place gets 4. You get 1 point. Like last would get 1 point. So 43rd would get 1 point. 42 would get 2 points.
All right. So back when they invented this in the napkin.
Yep.
The winner received how many points?
175.
And the second place?
170. It'd go down 5 point
now
from there.
The winner receives
43.
And the second place
42.
So they've gone the opposite way that we want them to go to.
Yeah.
They've actually given you less points. They've given you less of a cushion for winning a race.
Yes. It's down. It's by 1 point. They just decreased.
Why?
So I don't know. I think they need to emphasize more on winning. I think there needs to be, if you want to give 43 points for the winner, then maybe can we up it by 20?
Yeah, but that's bad.
Let's give a
that's
difference.
Too small. That 43 thing, that has to go up higher. Sort of like, I mean, that's what we do. I mean, in our fantasy point system, we give 100 points for first and 50 points for second. Now, if you want to shrink that a little bit, because that's just too much of a big, wow, we went from 1 to 50, that's fine. But meet me somewhere in between, and I'm even satisfied.
Yeah, because that's what's even more impressive with Hamlin having basically he's 75 positions on track ahead of Truex right now, if you look at it that way, and he hasn't won yet. So if you look at the standings, he could finish last for 2 straight weeks, and Truex can win 2 straight weeks, and he'd still be within a couple points down.
He could have 5 wins to Hamlin's nothing.
Yep.
And be still down.
Yes. That's why if you look at the standings, you look at 75 points in the old days, like, that's not that much. But if you look at it these days, like, that's a huge lead. I mean, he's 101 points ahead of William Byron in third. He's over 100 points ahead of everybody else other than Truex Jr. So that's why Hamlin's encouraged with the start of his year. He's like, if I keep running the top 5s, eventually I'm going to win a race. But look at his lead right now. And you got to look at, I think last year, Harvick, I want to say, don't quote me on this. I don't have the stat in front of me, but he was over 100 points ahead of second at the end of the year. If you went just on points last year, throw the playoff factor out, just points accumulated, I think he was well over 100 points ahead of second place. But he didn't even make the championship 4. So that's why the playoff format is the way it is.
Now, does the playoff format only benefit like Denny Hamlin, say, in the first round?
Yeah, probably just because he's got the points accumulated. But as the farther you go on, like, here's where Hamlin will be in a detriment pretty soon. At least the regular season champion gets 15 playoff points. So right now we know if he stays there, he's got 15 playoff points coming his way. But it used to be the playoff points would help benefit the guys. They were winning a bunch of races. Like, remember Harvick last year won like 7-8 races in the regular season. He was ahead of the regular. Plus, he got 15 playoff points on top of it. It hasn't been this way where a guy that's barely won gets the playoff points, because it's going to really put him. Like I said, Truex has more playoff points than that right now.
So right now, Truex, if the playoffs started today, Truex would be 8 points up on Hamlin, as I'm looking at it right here.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Hamlin, it rewards you as the farther you go on the standings because you reset the points and you go back on your playoff points each round. So it doesn't really help Hamlin to do all these top fives because he's got to start winning. Like he's got 5 playoff points right now. That's it. You get 5 for a race win. So yeah, on the regular season points, he's beating everybody. The brakes off everybody. But it comes down to actual playoffs. He's not. He wouldn't even be in the lead right now, and that's even with the playoff, the regular season championship.
Okay.
So he's got to start winning some races.
Well, let's see what other. Because and it's interesting in our fantasy standings, Truex has 465 points, and Hamlin has 420. So we have Truex up 45 points. Again, I like that. I like the fact that Truex is up 45 points in our league because that's the way the points should be. Okay, now what would be just taking a look at the standings here? If we're just going to take a look at the comparison between playoff and regular season. What else sticks out at you that might be a little bit, if anybody's looking strictly at the regular season standings, give me another point where they should understand that, wait a second, but if the playoffs started, there's a much bigger difference here.
Well, one thing I look at is like Michael McDowell. He's 15th in points, but he's won a race. So let's say he doesn't win the Daytona 500. And let's just say he finishes second that day or whatever, just so he has similar points. He'd be 15th. He'd barely be in right now. But since he's won, he's solidly in. He's 15th. He's not, he'd be 9th. Kyle Busch, he's got 1 win. He'd be 10th in the regular season standings, but he's in. So Alex Bowman would be 14th. Bowman. Christopher Bell 11th. Yeah. Like you got guys that'd be outside the top 10 in points, or and Kyle Busch's sake, 10th, that are solidly in because they won a race. So, whereas you got someone like Kevin Harvick, he's plus 117, but he's down towards, he's not in. Like if the playoff standings, he'd be 12th right now, as far as he hasn't won a race yet. So
is anybody in danger who doesn't have a win, like Chase Elliott and Kevin Harvick? Are they in danger at all? Because they are what? They're 7th and 8th in the regular season standings.
Right now, no. Because I feel like I'm going to write about this soon, too. I feel like Truex, somebody's going to get hot. Somebody's going to start winning a bunch of races because we're running out of winners. Like, you just look at the standings, and right now, those Hamlin, Harvick, and Elliott, I don't think need to win a race, and they still would be in.
How many more races do we have?
So we got 13 races of the regular season.
Okay.
And we've got 10 different winners. Do we think we're going to get 16 different winners? I'm starting to think no.
What if we have 3 more different winners?
Then I think it puts some pressure. Say you get 3 more.
That's not Harvick, Elliott, or even Hamlin.
That's going to put a little bit of pressure. But on the flip side, you look at how far up. Let's just say for conversation, let's just say Austin Dillon, Buescher, and DiBenedetto win. Let's just name those 3. Look at the gap between Chase Elliott and the rest. I mean, he's the bottom of those 3, and he's 114 points above the cut line. It's going to take probably 4 winners to knock him out, or him or Harvick.
Sure.
They're only 3 points separate those two. Hamlin's so far away from. He's 261.
But you're still talking about sweating. I mean, Hamlin doesn't have anything to worry about, but Elliott and Harvick. No. All right, let's say DiBenedetto wins, like you said. Let's say Buescher wins and Reddick wins. Now, Elliott and Harvick are sitting there.
They're sweating it now.
They can't afford 1 more win, or else one of them will be bumped out.
Yep. And there's only 3 points between them right now. So that's a battle to watch in itself because you don't want to be the cut guy. You don't want to be sitting there on the bubble. And those two only have 3 points between them. Plus, I mean, we got a lot of road courses. We've got Daytona still, their regular season finale. Anybody can still bump their way in. So are they sweating it now? Probably not because they're so far up. But once you start getting, they're pretty soon going to start cheering for the guys that have already won. Like, hey, I'd rather see, hey, Truex, just keep winning. Hey, William Byron, won another one. Logano, Keselowski, like, you guys start getting to victory lane because if we keep getting some new guys, then they're in trouble. But, I mean, who would have thought, too? I mean, Chase Elliott, he won 5 times last year in the championship. Kevin Harvick won 9 times. Hamlin won 7 times. None of those 3 have won.
Well, what's possible is, and it's too early to tell because this has, again, been a second half sport. But it's possible of what you talked about early on in the season, that watch out for the teams that are possibly thinking about next year instead of this year.
Yep.
Maybe that's happening with these guys. I mean, I would tend to think, but to me, I think there's more of an excuse with Harvick that look who he's surrounded with. He doesn't have good, experienced teammates. And Elliott's coming off a championship. And he's a young kid. So I still think there are kind of built-in excuses that I kind of think will play itself out.
I think eventually they're going to win anyways. Yeah. I mean, we've seen him do this time and time again, and all of a sudden he gets hot. He'll rattle off 3 wins in 5 weeks, and he's back. He's driving good enough. Harvick, I mean, he's not driving terrible. I mean, yes, I know we mentioned on the show that, hey, we'll see what he does.
I was a disappointing race for him yesterday, to be honest. I mean, he should have dominated the way Truex did.
Yep, he led 159 laps in a similar race last year. Daytime race, May. He led 10 yesterday, and that was only because he had the track position up front. He never could get back up there. The Toyotas look like the class of the field at Darlington. He's led, prior to yesterday, 719 laps in 9 races with Stewart-Haas. He led 63 in 16 races with RCR. And we talked, he's on the front row yesterday. Let's see what he can do. He only led 10 laps. He's only led, 29? Something like that for the year.
He was right there.
He doesn't have, but he keeps finishing top 10. So that's where I look at drivers like that. We've talked in the past that, Penske started off slow and look at them in the playoffs. Or Hendrick would do that and look at them in the playoffs. Harvick's a guy that I think if they keep tweaking with this, they're close. They just keep getting top 10s. He's just not dominating. Well, what happens when they finally get that figured out?
I still don't have as much confidence in him because of his team, his overall team. That's not changing.
Yep. No, and that was my only concern. Is Chase Briscoe is 70 points outside the playoffs, Cole Custer's 76, and Almirola's 100. They need a win. They're running out of time, but they're Custer's in his second year. Briscoe's a rookie. Almirola, you kind of get what you get. I know he's got some bad luck. So
you're still holding on to Almirola on your fantasy team?
It's getting close. I just look at the bigger teams. I just have a feeling, which is why I was going to write about it probably for the 600 week. I'm going to let him get through Dover, see what happens. Coda, we haven't been there before. Let's see what winners come out.
You could pick up Ricky Stenhouse Jr. or Ryan Newman.
Yep, I'm looking. Look at it either. I just have a feeling it's going to be hard for one of the teams outside the big ones to win. I mean, look at how the season's playing out. It seems like the guys other than Michael McDowell, it's all Gibbs, Penske, Hendrick. Those are the big teams. Stewart-Haas has played second fiddle to those 3. If they eventually figure it out, I feel like Harvick will get the benefit, but Almirola is the veteran. If he could get some bad luck away from him, then we'll see what happens. But I don't feel like the other 2 are going to win this year, other than maybe Briscoe on a road course. But I feel like that is a hindrance too of Harvick, because he doesn't have the setup help from those guys. And do they figure it out? That's going to be the question. It kind of reminds me of the 2018 season, I believe. They struggled off. It took him 20 races to win. He won in Loudon, and then they took off that summer. Is he getting? He looks like he's getting closer and closer. Just the overall speed's not there.
But as far as drivers that, if we're just talking about making the playoffs, who just taking a look at the points. So let's go. Let me shoot back to overall points here. Let's regular season points. We're looking at Reddick is 16th. And then you have DiBenedetto right there, Stenhouse right there, and also Newman. But Kurt Busch is another one. A bad result again yesterday. Time starting to run out on Kurt Busch. So is there a cutoff with any of these drivers? Can you give me a cutoff of where you think the only realistic chance this driver and the rest of them are going to have to get to the playoffs is a win?
I'm going to say right now, I'm going to go with the 50. Chastain is 50 behind. I think it's going to be harder anybody to make up 50 points on like Reddick or DiBenedetto because they're tied for that spot. Like it's going to start shifting here soon to where they've got to start scoring stage points, not going for a win, depending on that's the game. How many different winners do we get? And if we start having some guys that have already won start getting hot, do they start electing for stage points? What I mean by that is Stenhouse gambled at Kansas, and he was solidly in. And look how far down he is. He didn't have a great day yesterday. He's 19 out. I want to say he was, 17, 18 in going into Kansas.
Go
look
fast.
at stage points. Chastain's a prime example. Look at he gambled in the first stage of, I'm solid in the top 10. I'm going to try to run it out and older tires, and he fell a lap down. Now he's 50 points out. So look how quickly that could sway. I think getting farther back, I know Suarez is right there, 54 back. I just feel like that's a lot of points to make up. I think as we're halfway through the regular season, I'm going to say 50 points, and I'm going to slowly shrink that. I mean, Kurt Busch being 28 down, that's still tough. It's doable. But what part of the way he's running do I think he's going to make up 28 points? He keeps sliding farther and farther back. But again, he's wins at least one race every year too.
That's true.
It seems like so if he's getting to the point he's going to have to win. We know he can win. If he does, that's going to shake things up again because that takes a playoff spot away, and that shrinks that gap. Then now all of a sudden that 50 points could become 60, 70 points, and nothing ends up happening. So yeah, so it'll be interesting.
And schedule wise, what's you said? Okay, so Dover. What is that? Just taking a look early at Dover. Is this going to be another boring race?
The trends say yes. We've seen a lot of domination this season, and I've looked in the past few years at Dover, and there's been a lot of domination there too. I mean, Hamlin led 115 of the 311 laps last year and won. Harvick the second day, because this was a doubleheader weekend last year, led 223 of the 311 and won. Larson the year before in the fall race, 154 of the 400, and he won. The spring race, Elliott led 145 and Truex led 132. So combine that of the 400, they finished first and fifth. I mean, we've seen guys lead at least 100 laps in this race. So I feel like the way we're doing the starting lineup, Truex is starting up front, Larson starting up front. Truex finished runner-up 3 straight races there, and he won the other in the fourth. And those are the last 2 years.
He might be 3-1.
He's going to be good, yeah. And you go look at Larson. He hasn't raced there since 2019. He was third and first in those 2 races. Those guys are probably going to start front row or first and third. They're going to be up front. Hamlin, he's dominated there. He won this race last year. He was 5th in the playoff race the year before. I mean, these are the guys that are starting up front. You're giving them the clean air, and we've seen domination out of all of them this year. We've seen Truex, Hamlin, and Larson just dominate races this year, and they're probably going to all start 1, 2, 3 on a track that's hard to pass on in general. So I think, yeah, we're probably going to see another dominating race on Sunday between one of them.
All right. And then just going to check out your website here just to see, again, this is your website, Race Review Online, so everybody can see it, racereviewonline.net. And you have really most of what I see here has a lot more IndyCar early on, and I'm not surprised after what happened at Darlington yesterday.
Yeah, it'll be IndyCar, the main. It's like the first 5 are like the main featured. I'll have the NASCAR stuff up this week. You click on the NASCAR tab, it's right there. Yeah. It'll switch over when I do that cover in person NASCAR races. Whatever I'm covering in person will get the primary stuff, but it'll still have, like this week, the track trends tomorrow, favorites in the race preview Wednesday for IndyCar and NASCAR. Sleepers on Thursday, and the 5 burning questions on Friday. So those will all hit this week still as well.
And I see here that you have posted the fans are going to be able to attend the Coke 600, the Coke Zero Sugar 400 at Daytona.
Yep.
That's going to be interesting. I think we could have a pretty, pretty sizable, fan turnout.
It's starting Yeah, you got Pocono next month, 100% capacity.
Pocono.
Atlanta in July, 100%. It shocks me Pocono in Pennsylvania of all places,
Is that the
100%.
is that when we're having the back-to-back races?
Yep, doubleheader. It'd
Saturday,
be
Sunday?
yep, end of June. So you got Pocono, Atlanta, 100% capacity in July, and now you've added Daytona, the Southern 500 in September, and then Kansas playoff race. All three of them announced like, hey, we're going 100% capacity too. So things are starting to open up just full force. I was shocked. Pocono, to be honest, was the first one in Pennsylvania that they've said 100% capacity. So I've heard Nashville the week before that has talked about potentially going 100% capacity. But then you got to look at the races before that. Texas All Star race, which, gosh, we'll talk about that probably closer to time. I don't understand what they're doing with the All Star. It seems like you need to calculate. Oh,
Nice
the
racetrack. Oh,
and
why
the
the rules are
rules
even
for
worse?
oh my gosh, everybody's like, what? There's five stages in 100 laps. It's like you're running 10 lap increments, and then depending on where you finish in the stage, and there's formulas to how you start the next. It's like, and then the last stage, whoever gets off pit road first, the fastest pit stop gets $100,000. Like, hold on here, we're starting off pit stop in a formula. Like, what? Nobody knows what's going on. So, but I have a feeling they'll be full capacity.
Stop screwing around and put the damn All-Star race at Daytona, will you?
Yeah, can we just get a true All-Star?
I mean, if you put the All-Star race at Daytona and say, okay, here you go, boys, 30 laps, go. I mean, come on.
Yes.
That's what we all wait for at these Daytona, Talladega racetracks anyway, is the last 20, 30 laps. So just go ahead. Hey, 30 laps, yeah. Daytona, go for it. Maybe even they have like a budget set aside because of, your cars are going to end up wrecking. I don't know, whatever. But,
Well, here's the other kicker. You know how everybody's been claiming, hey, can we get more horsepower back and less downforce? Let's put the thing back in the driver's hands because, they took away even more horsepower for the All-Star race. It's like 410. Like it went from 550 to like 400. Like, what?
Why?
I mean, you took who knows? So you're cutting horsepower and you're shortening stages. It's almost like they're just asking for a bunch of wrecks. It's like, hey, let's take more horsepower away and let's shorten the stages. Like,
okay.
And then let's add formulas. I don't think anybody knows what they're doing.
We'll
it's like,
wrecks. Okay.
Yeah, that's about, let's just wreck a bunch of cars.
All right. Who cares? It's not our car.
Nope. Not my wallet.
Covers betting.
Yeah.
So what's this?
Well so
you go here and you can, what's the difference between, okay, you got weekly race picks at covers.com. You get click here for direct access to the racing page.
Yes. That'll take you straight to my picks each week, straight to the preview and who to bet on type deal.
You go here and then you have okay, so you can, all right, so this is where all your picks are. And
yep. And each Wednesday they'll throw the preview on there. And then later in the week, we'll have the picks for that upcoming weekend.
Okay, awesome. And then again, just come in here. That's just the regular website at covers.com. All right, awesome. Well, you've been doing pretty good with your picks on our show. So are you doing pretty good overall?
Yeah, so far so good. Starting to play catch up. Granted, I did not pick Truex, I don't believe, yesterday, so I'm back in the hole again. So we'll try to climb out.
Well, now you got
Dover.
Now you got to start taking some chances again.
It'll be interesting for our show Wednesday to see what these odds are going to be because, as I just mentioned, the top three we've been getting 5-6 to 1 favorite lines. Like you said, Truex is probably going to be 3 to 1, Larson 4 to 1 range, Hamlin around. So it's going to we're now going to start being forced. Are you going to take the big guys, or are you going to have to go long shots because we're treading that direction again?
All right. So Wednesday, CJ and I will preview the race from Dover. And so the 500 is when again?
The 30th. So 3 weeks from yesterday. We got the road course. The Grand Prix is on Saturday.
Okay.
And then the 500, the oval stuff will start a week from. It'll be next week. Not this week, but next week.
All right. So we'll definitely have some Indy 500 talk here coming up in the next couple of weeks, and we'll get you an opportunity to break down everything for the race, go over the field, sleepers, long shots, favorites, history, all that stuff for the Indy 500 coming up here. So we'll definitely handle that as well. Eric, what do you got working on for this week?
Yeah, just we'll have the track trends for both IndyCar and NASCAR. We got the road course in Indianapolis for IndyCar, Dover for NASCAR. Then the favorites, and that'll be Tuesday. The favorites, and the preview for both races Wednesday. Sleepers for both races Thursday, and then the 5 Bernie questions on Friday. And then I'll have some IndyCar recaps and stuff over the weekend.
All right. Don't forget also, besides subscribing to this channel, which we hope you do, if you like what you see, definitely like the show as well. Any video that you like, please press that like button. And that helps us out tremendously with traffic. And then we can give you these shows not only as good as we can give you now, but even better in the future. So, Eric, appreciate it as always. We'll talk to CJ on Wednesday.
Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate it.